Here's your directions for AP Biology today. First things first, make sure you get the diagram finished explaining water potential that you started yesterday. Make sure everybody's name is on that from your lab group, and then turn that in. Next, you can begin Part A of our diffusion lab. Again, Part A only for today. You'll be using the dialysis tubing for that, and I showed you how that works yesterday. Remember, it must be cut. I did not do any cutting of any of the tubing ahead of time. You have to cut your own. Whatever size you cut, that should be the same size for every trial. You'll need a new piece for every trial. Make them all the same size. Again, they don't have to be very long. If you make them shorter, then we'll conserve materials much more. Remember, when you are cutting the material, then, that your hands are clean and absolutely dry. Make sure you soak them in water and kind of use your fingers to peel them apart. You're going to put solution inside of them. Again, whatever amount of solution you put inside of the dialysis tubing, it should be the same for every trial. Again, not using much then will help conserve materials. When you put the solution into the dialysis tubing, I showed you how to tie the ends yesterday. Make sure those are tied very tight. You can also use floss as a backup to ensure that they do not leak. Once you have that set up ready to go, it says fill a beaker or a cup with about 300 milliliters of distilled water. You don't have to use that much. That's quite a bit. But whatever amount you do use, make sure it's the same again for every trial. Using a little bit less then will help conserve some of the distilled water that's located in the containers on the cart. Once you have that set up ready to go, then you'll need to find your way to a computer. I have two laptops set up on the east wall, and on the south wall there's another computer back there. Those are all set up, ready to go. You log on, and they have the vernier equipment and the probes already connected. There are two more computers in the resource room. If you can have a teacher open that up, and there's a Lab Pro and two more probes sitting on the counter. You'd have to carry those in and plug them in to the computers in the resource room yourself, but that's pretty easy to do. Remember, the Lab Pro itself needs to be plugged in to the electrical, and then also plugged in with USB to the computer, and then plug the probe into channel 1. If you don't use the computers in the resource room, the ones in the classroom will be fine. You'll just have to share and take turns using them. Now I'm going to show you how you actually get to the program. So yeah, that's what my desktop looks like at home. On your computer, you'll have to find the Logger Pro program. Here it is. I'm going to open that up. The Logger Pro program looks like this. And following the directions, it tells us to click on the file on the toolbar and open. We get the menu popped up here. And it tells us to open up Biology with Vernier. And then we're going to do Program 4, Membrane Diffusion. Alright, and then we get a screen that looks like this. And my screen's kind of big, so you're missing some of the stuff off here to the right, but that's okay. And remember, we are measuring conductivity. We're seeing if any particles are getting across the membrane into the solution. So we're measuring TDS, milligrams per liter. And if we go down to step number 5, it says place the dialysis tubing containing the salt solution into the cup of distilled water, and then stir the solution slowly with the conductivity sensor or probe for 15 seconds. Again, you're only getting the end or the tip into the distilled water there, and you're stirring very slowly. After 15 seconds, begin your data collection by clicking Collect on the toolbar. And that is up here. Yours will be lit up green. Mine's not lit up green because I don't have a probe connected to it at the moment. But yours should be lit up green. And you click on that, and the program will run for about a 2-minute data collection period. And it'll even shut off for you. Meanwhile, it'll collect data. You'll see that building over here, and you'll see it being graphed out over in this area as well. Once that's done, be sure to rinse the probe in distilled water when you're finished with it. And if somebody else might be waiting for the computer, you can let them in on it. If you have data collected, I would recommend saving it, going up to File, and saving it somewhere where you're going to remember where it is, and all group members will have access to it. All right, then you're going to do a couple more trials. So each time then you'll click Collect, and each line will be done in a different color. At the end, you're going to want to find the slope, because that's also the rate of diffusion, to let us know how how quickly the particles are coming out of the semi-permeable membrane. So you can do that by clicking this button right here. It's got the little R on it. When you click that, you'll get a little box that pops up, and it'll have a line that points to the line that it's referring to. It'll say M equals, and that's your slope, and that's also the rate, which is what you're going to need to record on your lab. Most of you probably won't be able to print the graph when you are all done, but you can definitely sketch it out on a clean sheet of paper. Just get the basics of the lines so that we can see that, and attach that to your lab. Again, please remember to do a file and save your information so you can retrieve it later if needed. And again, save it in a place where all group members would have access to it, and you'll remember where it's at. Also, remember to rinse the probes with distilled water, and then you can just lay them next to the computer to air dry. When that's done, there's a few analysis questions to answer and get those answered. Remember, you're only doing part A today, and if you have a little time, you can read about parts B, C, and D. And if you do get a little time, part C, you also need dialysis tubing for part C, so you could cut that ahead of time and get that soaking, and it would be okay to soak that overnight.